Hi everyone. So we're going to discuss now the different issues that surround bioethics. Because we're done with the different concepts and principles in bioethics or healthcare ethics, we will now discuss the different issues that we need to resolve. The first of which will be about death and dying. Now, we all know that human beings are bound to die, no? Lahat tayo darating doon at lahat ng may sakit, kung talagang oras na niya, darating tayo doon, no? Now, there are several controversies, no, that surround, no, death and dying among patients. And here are some of the questions that we may face when we deal with the concept of death and dying. Okay? The issue of first is the issue of terminal illness, no? When do we consider terminal illness a terminal illness, or when do we consider to save him? When do we consider to let him go, no? And when do we consider him on the first place a terminally ill patient? Sometimes we also come to an issue when to remove an intervention, a treatment, no, that allow the patient to die. Did we kill him or not? No? Those are some questions. Sometimes we ask ourselves who terminates or withholds or remove, no, a life-sustaining device on a terminally ill patient? Or should it be the doctor who should ask the family or the nurse or whatsoever? Now, sometimes we ask also ourselves, when are interventions considered ordinary or extraordinary? No? When we say ordinary, these are treatments na gumagana or tumatalab pa sa pasyente, or sometimes extraordinary, yung hindi na siya gumagana sa pasyente. Yung mga treatment ba na binibigay natin sa pasyente tulad ng pagkain, tubig, oxygen, or aeration, no? Are they always considered ordinary? Okay. So, when those are some questions, no? Sometimes may tanong din tayo na who should give consent, no, for the removal of the life-sustaining device, and who can withdraw it? And should healthcare providers honor advance directives? Those are some questions. Another question is, when is the removal of LSD, no, whose utilization has been considered useless, a failure of medicine or of healthcare? And what about those patients who have been pronounced under irreversible reversible coma for months, but one day just woke up? For us to understand or to face the dilemma or the questions, no, about death and dying, we must first ascertain what are the values of the family who experiencing death and dying, no? Yung kumakaharap sa ganitong dilemma. We must ascertain their values, no? And try to understand the values that they have and that they are comfortable of believing in. No? For those in healthcare, no, including the families, they must be sure about your cultural belief, your moral, pati yung religious values, no? And even the society at large, no, in which they live in. Okay? And you should not limit yourself, or you should not limit your advice as a nurse, no, sa kung ano yung tingin ninyo. Okay? So you must be cognizant, kumbaga, sa ika nga nila sa Channel 7, bawal judgmental, no? Kung ano ang values ng family, yun dapat ang masusunod. Okay? But you should always present the truth, no, of the condition of your patient. So magbabalanse kayo doon sa culture and the truth that has to be told. Okay? Now, you must also recognize that the human body is finite, no? Kaya nga tayo namamatay dahil may hangganan ang ating buhay. So we have to lalo na, no, kapag tayo ay may sakit, no, may fatal pathology kung katawagin, no, yung mga sakit na ang ending ay kamatayan. No, we have to face, no, we have to tell them that maybe this is the end, no? Kasi mamaya sobrang gusto nilang ipaglaban yung kanilang pasyente or ang kanilang namamatay na pasyente, pero ang ending mamamatay lang din, no? So those are some of the dilemmas that you may encounter. Now, what is the goal assigned to us healthcare workers? No? Tayo bilang healthcare workers, lagi natin tatandaan ang ating mandato. We have to preserve life, prevent disease, maintain the health, and relieve pain and suffering. Sa death and dying, kung sure na tayo na mamamatay yung pasyente based on assessment ng doktor, we must provide relief of pain and suffering doon sa pasyente. Yun ang ating role in the in the in this dilemma of death and dying, no? We must be the source, no? We must be a source, okay, of hope and inspiration for the relatives of our patients. No, we should not be abandoning them, no? We should not be leaving them in their times of grieving. Okay? So that's our duty, no, in healthcare. Now, there are several approaches in healthcare na may patungkol, no, sa death and dying. No, there's one practice, no, by the word of euthanasia, no, which equates, no, to mercy killing, no, kasi euthanasia came from two Greek words, no. Eu means good and while the thanatos death, no. So euthanasia means good death, no, quote unquote, no? Now, euthanasia is actually equated as mercy killing. Okay? So, you hasten the death of a person by either committing something, no? Committing something. When we say committing something, you do active euthanasia. Meron kang ini-instill, no, na gamot para mamatay yung pasyente or meron kang binibigay na something para mapabilis yung kanyang kamatayan. No, for example, ginagamit KCL, no, sa death penalty, ginagamit ang potassium chloride to induce heart attack, no, para mamatay yung pasyente. That's active euthanasia. You introduce something to hasten the death of a person. While passive euthanasia, on the other hand, is inducing killing or mercy killing by omitting something. May inaalis ka. For example, inalis mo yung pagkain ng pasyente tapos na-absorb pa naman ng pasyente yung pagkain, tinanggal mo yung pagkain, nagutom, namatay, no? That's passive euthanasia. Okay? Now, this is not ethically acceptable in most countries, no? But some countries they accept euthanasia on a certain ground. But here in the Philippines, euthanasia is still not accepted. Okay? Because there is an intent to ensure death. May kagustuhan kang mamatay yung pasyente. Okay? There is an intent. Ika nga natin doon sa first, yung sa mga previous discussion natin, ang determinants ng morality ng isang action, isa yung object, isa yung intent, no? Kung may intent ka na pumatay ng tao, that's not ethically acceptable. Okay? Now, here's a brief history of euthanasia. Well, this is not a new uh, practice, no? It was actually practiced by the Greeks for their eugenics, no? They introduced euthanasia to cleanse the genes of the people na ng kanilang population na to be free of of disabilities, no? So yung mga may disability, may mga uh, yung may mga deformities, no, sa katawan, yung mga may sakit, no? They practice euthanasia to cleanse them, no, para maalis sila sa population at maging maganda yung genes nila kasi wala na magpe-perpetuate nung genes na may deformity or may disability. Okay? In the modern times, no, in the 20th century, meron din tayong may nag-advocate din, no, ng euthanasia in the form of physician assisted suicide, no, PAS. Yung picture dito ito si Dr. Jack Kevorkian, also known as Dr. Death, no. He assisted 130 patients, no, to that end, yung euthanasia. Okay? In the end, no, He was convicted of second-degree murder, no? And in the early 2000, no? And because of the fact na siya ay pumatay, no? Because he hastened someone's death. So another approach naman, kung yung isa ay gustong mamatay, another approach is yung tinatawag na dyskinesia or improper death, kung tawagin. Because in this process, you prolong the dying process of the patient. No? This is where we introduce unnecessary procedures, no, that prolongs the agony of a patient who is dying. No? Bigay ka ng bigay ng procedure, ng treatment na hindi naman gumagana, hindi naman siya gumagaling, okay? Hindi siya effective sa client, pero siya ay humihinga pa rin. For example, ventilator na lang ang bumubuhay sa pasyente. The ventilator is actually improper because hindi naman siya gumagaling sa kondisyon niya kahit siya ay bigyan mo ng ventilator. Nakukuha? So, this is an improper way of treating a patient, no? Kung mamamatay yung pasyente, just let the process go. Kung doon talaga siya pupunta. Which is why there is what you call your orthothanasia, no? Or the right death, no? You just withdraw any useless intervention or treatment from a terminally ill patient who has no more hope to reverse this condition. In this way, you allow the patient, no, to go on with the process of dying. Okay? Hindi mo napipigilan. Kasi pag pinigilan mo pa, mas mahihirapan lang yung pasyente. Okay? Now, sabi natin kanina, we have to recognize whether a patient is terminally ill, no, for him to be considered na dying, no, or papunta na sa fatal pathology kung tawagin. No, when do we consider, no, a patient as a terminally ill patient? No? Firstly, if the patient's illness, no, leads to death and is imminent, no? Probably within 1 month. Yung mga may taning na sa buhay, those are patients who have terminal illness. Number two, those patients or patients with terminal illness are those whose death may not be imminent, kahit hindi imminent yan, but in a state of acute life-threatening crisis. No? Those who have massive stroke, cardiogenic shock, no? Minsan yung mga nagkakaroon ng septicemic shock. Those are the patients with acute, no, life-threatening crisis. Or those patients who are in the yung tinatawag na PVS, no, or yung persistent vegetative state, yung mga gulay na. Okay? And those whose conditions are irreversible. Okay? Now, kanina binanggit din natin yung sinasabi ng yung konsepto ng fatal pathology. Fatal means deadly. So, deadly pathology means nakamamatay na sakit, no? So, therefore, these are any disease, illness, or injury which will cause death if allowed to run its course. Now, this is a condition where death is likely to happen when treatments are not anymore effective in reversing the condition, but can only prolong the current terminal condition. Now, when dealing with patients with fatal pathology, the following questions should be asked. Ask yourself whether the intervention is effective. First, that's the first question. Number two, will the intervention cause serious burden, no, in terms of pain or suffering, effort sa family or sa pasyente, no? The burden in psychological and emotional well-being, and even financial burden. And third, you ask yourself, will the burden imposed by the intervention seriously impede achieving life's purpose? Okay? So if the treatment to cure or alleviate the pathology is effective and doesn't entail grave burden, pwede siyang gamitin. Kung hindi naman siya effective, why use it? 'Di ba? So you do not use the treatment, no? Kung hindi naman siya effective. And if it's effective but entails grave burden, no, it may be withheld and be brainstormed, no, pag-iisipan kung gagamitin ba o hindi. Now, always remember that minsan when a patient is constrained with unnecessary gadgets, no, and medical limiting procedures, okay, he is impeded from achieving his purpose, making him live under an inhumane condition. Kahit sabihin mo na you do your best, no, binibigyan mo siya ng maraming treatment, no, pero nagmumukha na siyang Christmas tree, nagmumukha na siyang hindi tao, no? You have to think twice, no? Pag-isipan, kailangan pa bang ibigay ito? Okay? So, doon tayo papasok no, sa konsepto ng ordinary and extraordinary means. When we say ordinary mean, ito yung mga treatment na gumagana pa and does not make care unreasonable, burdensome sa pasyente at sa pamilya. So these are interventions, no, na tinatawag na ordinary means kasi gumagana pa. Okay? While those that make care unreasonably burdensome or does not offer any reasonable hope of recovery, those are extraordinary means. Always remember that we are always bound to keep ordinary means, no? To utilize ordinary means of care to our patients unless it becomes extraordinary. Okay? The three basic treatment, no? The three basic treatment that are always considered ordinary are food, hydration, no? And oxygen, no? Or air. Now, this ordinary treatment, yung tatlong basic na to, minsan nagiging extraordinary din, no? Tuwing kailan? Kapag ang pagkain ay hindi na na-absorb ng katawan ng pasyente. Kapag ang tubig, no, yung IV fluids kung sa mga terminally ill patient ay hindi na na-absorb ng katawan ng pasyente. Or kung ang ventilator na lang talaga ang bumubuhay sa pasyente. No, those become extraordinary, no? Doon nagiging extraordinary yung mga ordinary na basic na sinabi ko. Okay? So and should be taught properly yung pag-isipan ng maigi kung ibibigay pa ba o hindi. Now, meron din tayong tinatawag na life-saving measure during times of acute life-threatening cases, no? Yung tinatawag na CPR, no? Cardiopulmonary resuscitation. This is an emergency procedure that is used to prevent sudden and unexpected death in life-threatening situation of arrest kapag nagka-arrest yung pasyente. Now, if your patient is having an arrest, tatandaan na ang code ay pinatatawag ng doktor. Okay? Now, the nurses take part on CPR, no? Helping out, no, to administer medication, minsan mag-pump, no? Pero kadalasan sa ospital natin ang nagpa-pump mga interns, no, mga doktor din. Pero kapag wala pang intern, well, the nurse, no, being trained in CPR can give CPR while waiting for help, no, sa medical team. Now, CPR is a burdensome procedure kasi ipapump yung puso mo, no, pwedeng magkaroon ng pilay sa katawan. Kapag i-defibrillate yung pasyente, pwedeng magkasunog or burns, electrical burns, no, kapag dineliveran ng shock yung katawan. At hindi rin palaging 100% sure na mabubuhay ang pasyente kapag nag-CPR. No? Kahit na i-CPR mo yan, kung hindi talaga magre-react or magre-respond yung pasyente, talagang wala. Okay? Now, sometimes CPR can be deferred, no? And it can be deferred by a standing order of DNR, no? Yung DNR, kung sinasabi doon, yung do not resuscitate order, not to initiate cardiopulmonary resuscitation in the event of arrest, no? Wag na lang gawin yung CPR kasi hindi rin naman makakatulong in the case of arrest. Okay? So again, ino-offer ito ng mga doktor hindi ng mga nurses, no? To those terminally ill patient and whose death is imminent, reversible coma, burden of treatment outweighs the benefits. Now, The DNR order, sometimes some hospitals, no, modify DNR orders, no. Minsan hindi lang resuscitation. Minsan sinasama na rin yung ibang treatment, no. Yung mga gamot ba niya ibibigay pa, no? Kasama yung ventilator, etc. No? Case to case basis, no, ng bawat ospital. Iba-iba sila ng DNR order. But the most common of them all is nga dahil nga do not resuscitate yan, yung CPR ang dinedefer. Yun yung common sa lahat. Okay? Now, guidelines for DNR order, sabi ko nga kanina, the DNR is always given by the physician. No? And the physician should explain, okay, and communicate among all those involved in the DNR order. Okay? So, hindi lang sa healthcare team i-explain ng physician yung DNR order, kundi dapat mauna ang pamilya. Okay? And that it must follow, okay, by the guidelines set by each healthcare institution. So I leave this one for you to read, no? These are further reading. The case of Karen Ankinlan, sila yung mga sikat na mga cases, no, na may patungkol, no, sa death and dying. Okay? First, I want you to read about the case of Karen Ankinlan. The second is the case of Nancy Cruzan. And the third is the case of Terry Shabo. With that, I end my lecture for this week. I hope you learned something from me. So if you have any questions, you can always send me a message. Okay? And you can always start a discussion in our Facebook group. Thank you so much and have a nice week.